Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I wanted to talk about the Entertainment Weekly article, and I actually really want to get into the very ending of the article here, get into exactly, I guess, what Gimple, Danai, Gurira, and Andrew Lincoln were saying about, the possibility of a season 2 if there was going to be more and all of that. So before going further, obviously, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Now, again, I will leave a link down below to this article. Definitely go and check it out. There is so much more to actually get into here with this article. I just want to focus more on the very last part here, and it's very interesting. It does seem like they're very much in the place where it's like, yes, they're very open to doing a season 2, but like the story needs to be very, very good. And it seems like season 1 ends in a way where it definitely sets up something in the future, but there will be sort of a conclusion to a lot of things, but like not necessarily really an overall conclusion. And so it really is like right now they're just like, you know what, we just want to put out season 1. And that's what Gimple said recently. It's like, we just want to, have season 1 come out, and then we'll just kind of see from there. I mean, he does say, like, there are things that do happen, and it was definitely a never say never situation. I just find it very interesting because that wasn't the talk, from the beginning. And Entertainment Weekly, that I've been pointing that out ever since literally, like, they first announced it here, but they actually point out in their article here that, when they first announced this show in July of 2022, AMC confirmed to Entertainment Weekly that the plan was not for just a one single season and that was it. And so it seemed like, pretty much from the beginning, there was always a chance that there was going to be more, but it was just one of those things where I guess they just announced it as is. And I mean, we've been talking about it for so long, and that's why I've been pointing it out from the beginning, because World Beyond, it was so obvious that it was only 2 seasons. With this show, like, it felt like as time went on, the limited series thing just kind of went away. And at this point, I think it's practically gone. Like, if you look at the promotion, it's always saying new series, new series. Like, the limited series thing with this episode, I think, is completely gone, especially judging by the answers here. And we'll get into this because all of this is new. And also going based off of, just like what they've been saying recently in some of their interviews. Like, it just seems like if this was a limited series, this was 6 episodes and that was it, they would just say, no, this is it. Like, this is the end for Rick and Michonne and this and that. It would be so much more clear. And the fact that they're all kind of being like, whatever with it, it's just like, yeah, you know what? This isn't really a limited series anymore. It just doesn't seem like it anymore. So let's get into what Gimple said here, because this part here is very, very interesting. So Gimple says, certainly I have an opinion, answers Gimple, but it's a band. It's Danai, Andy, and me. So I have the next story in my mind, and I have a story after that in my mind, but I would want to see what my bandmates think and AMC thinks and what the universe thinks. So that part there I really like, because Gimple seems to have everything kind of planned in general. And there was an interview with, I think it was comicbook.com, that he went into a lot more detail with that. We discussed a lot of, like, he has a lot of these plans for everything there, but it really is like, I think that's why we don't get a lot of answers to a lot of stuff right away, because, and I think it's honestly very smart, because a lot of people, when they're doing this universe stuff, they will actually have like stuff laid out, and then all of a sudden the universe doesn't go a certain direction, and then now it's like you can't really go back and re-explain that, right? So now you're like, okay, what do we do now, right? So that's why I think a lot of the mysteries behind certain things where we don't get answers on stuff are just kind of there, and I think he'll eventually get to it, kind of thing, right? But that's why I think we haven't gotten a lot of answers on a lot of stuff here, because I think that Gimple really is trying to, like, only release stuff, only get into certain things, like, like the Triple P card thing, when he knows he can actually for sure tell the complete story there. And by the way, he did say actually recently that the whole Triple P card story, I think he wrote all of that, or he was finished all of it like 2 years ago. So that tells me that when he first came up with that idea, there wasn't anything behind it. I'm sure he had some like ideas and this and that, but it seems like he kind of finished that roughly, like 2 years ago. And again, even though he's finished with that, maybe they get into that in the show, but like maybe when he does plan to actually use that story, like maybe certain things change, right? So I do think he's really great at running the Walking Dead universe. I do. I actually think he's doing a really amazing job here. But let's actually get into what Danai and Andy were saying about all of this talk here, about like a season 2 and just sort of, the future here. And so the article continues here. As for Gimple's bandmates, Danai Gurira brushes off the question with, we'll see where it lands, while Lincoln considers the hurdles towards making it happen. I mean, it's hard when you die at the end of the, then he laughs and then just kind of says, I want to see the fans happy. I want them to enjoy this roller coaster, and I want them to be surprised, and I want them to feel things, and I want them to punch the air with joy and feel hope and cry a bit as well. But look, if there's a good enough idea, I'm just about ideas now and working with friends and talented people. So that right there is very, very positive. Combined with, again, I don't know when this interview was done. This interview seemed to have been done last May. Like, just judging based off of, the structure of everything here, it seems like the interview was actually done in May. So a lot of this talk here was last year in May when they were filming this. So that's a long time ago that they were actually talking about, they could do more. And so it's been a lot of time. And then recently, they've also sort of been discussing this here. So I think for Danai Gurira, she's more in the place where it's like, well, let's see where this goes. Like let's actually just wait and see where the story is going to go here and just how the show is received by people, this and that. And I think she does, like, I think the possibility, and the want to do a season 2 is definitely there from everyone. But it's, how are the fans going to respond? How are people going to take certain things? And, should we do a season 2 at that point? And I think they just really want to see how it's going to do, because imagine if this season does come out and people don't like it. It's kind of whatever. And then the show ends, and it ends in a bad place where it's like, there's not a lot of excitement, this and that. They might not rush to go back and do a season 2. They might just be like, I don't know, but if it ends in a way where people are like, wow, that was so crazy, that was so amazing, they're probably going to feel really good and be like, you know what, let's go do a season 2, right? So I think that's really what we're waiting for here. We're waiting to see how a lot of this goes. And that's kind of what they've been saying, Then Andrew Lincoln says that too, basically, right? He says, like, I want the fans to be happy. I want them to enjoy this roller coaster, do all of this kind of stuff, whatever. And, but he says, but look, if there's a good enough idea, I'm just about ideas now and working with friends and talented people. So I think that that's really what it is. They will be very open if people really like this and they've done a really good job with season 1, then they will continue on and they will do another season and all that. And I think they've probably seen the success of Dead City and Daryl Dixon, right? So they probably want the same for their show. And if their show could be even bigger or whatever, they'll be happy with that. And so I think that's really what we're waiting for right now, is just to see how the show is going to do. If it does really well, they will for sure do a season 2. They'll totally be on board. I'm sure AMC would love to do a season 2 as well, right? So then we'll have that going, and who knows when that's going to come out. Gimple says he has the next story in his mind. He knows where he wants to kind of go with stuff. And so then it just takes the planning on that, and we'll get into a lot of that there. So I'm guessing if there is going to be a season 2, it's probably not going to be out for another like 2 years. I think Gimple probably has the story and everything set up. And I'm sure it ends in a way where it seems like, there's a pretty clear direction on where they could go for a season 2. But once they do wrap a lot of that up, then they have to actually plan stuff and then, get into like, meetings and stuff like that and write all this stuff out and get into that whole process again, which won't take as long. I know it took like 5 years, almost 6 years since Rick left the show, but the first 3 or 4 years of that was really nothing happened. Like, it seemed like they had a general story, but they were just trying to figure out how they were going to do this. But early 2022, it seemed like that's where a lot of things started to really like, okay, like now they know what they're doing. Because a lot of stuff happened with The Walking Dead as well, where they were like, hey, you got to wrap up that show. We want to go in this direction here, which thankfully AMC said that, right? Because look at the spinoffs we have now and look at the quality of everything, right? Like if they were going to continue with what Gimple originally wanted to do, which was just do The Walking Dead forever and then have Daryl and Carol leave for a little bit, and then we would be on season 14, 15, 16 of The Walking Dead. That's just insane, right? Or maybe even 17 of The Walking Dead at this point. So I'm very, very happy with, the direction that they went in here. And so I feel like, yeah, season 2 is probably going to happen, judging by the fan reaction here. The first 4 episodes so far, people seem to really love. Like everyone's saying the first 3 are just insane. Like they're going crazy about them. And again, we're going to have early reviews tomorrow. So that's going to tell us so much. But most people are saying episode 4 should get awards for that episode. It's like the best one that's ever aired in like the Walking Dead universe. So I'm like, okay, I'm really excited for that. And I think we know that that's going to be the one where Rick and Michonne reunite, right? So if that episode is very worthy of all of these awards, like Emmys and Golden Globes or whatever, then, I'm excited for that. Like that's the first 4 episodes. And then you have the last 2 there where I'm like, let's see where this goes. You know what I mean? So I think that it's probably going to continue on and we'll still have that story very much alive for the next couple of years. So I feel pretty confident at this point here. I said this like a month ago, probably a little over a month ago. As soon as they started to do press and started to talk about the show, they were going to be asked this. Is this it? Is this going to be a 1-season thing, or is it going to be, 2 seasons or more? And then I said, based off of their answers, we're going to know right away, because either they're going to be like, no, it's just 6 episodes, that's it, or this is the end, this is Rick and Michonne's final story, or they were going to be like, well, we'll have to wait and see. We just want to put this out there. And judging based off of their answers, we were going to know. And so I think based off of what they've been saying, it really is, yes, they just want to see how fans are going to respond. I think that's really the last thing here. I think if fans respond really well and the story's actually well done, and what they give us is of crazy high quality, and they're very proud of everything, and it's a big success, they will do a season 2. So I think that's what we're waiting for right now. It's just, how are fans going to respond? How is this show going to compare to everything else? And I feel like we all kind of have a general vibe right now that this is going to be a very successful show. Probably more successful than The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, and Dead City. I'm not saying that in any way to bash those shows, because those shows were obviously really incredible. I'm just saying that this show, because of the characters, it's just, people have been waiting for Rick and Michonne to return for a very long time, right? So anyways, what I will say is at the very end of the article here, they actually talk about the fact that they might, if they do film season 2, it's probably not going to be in New Jersey, because they seem to really like the heat, I guess, in Georgia, which I find hilarious, because they always kind of complained about it before, but they were so used to it. I think it's just like you get used to that kind of that heat, right? And Danai Gurira says, I'm not a winter girl, and Andrew Lincoln's like, Rick's a Georgia boy kind of thing. And so I think they're very used to that heat and just filming, during the summer and all of that, and just how hot it can be there. That filming in New Jersey, especially, I think they started filming in like January, February, March, around there too. So like, it can be a lot colder. I think it was February actually. Or no, it might have been pushed to March. I don't remember. Anyways, so I feel like if they were to do a season 2, they might actually move locations, which I wonder if that hints at what the story could be, right? I don't think the CRM story would wrap up in this season. So I'm just kind of curious on what that would mean overall. But again, it's not that hard to change stuff with that anyways. So anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.